Welcome everyone, and again, welcome to another session of sentence correction and another session of GMAT. Now, as all of you know that we've been dealing with a series of GMAT webinars, and we've been taking certain topics precisely related to sentence correction. The reason for that is that we've seen that sentence correction questions, when it comes to the 36 questions that are going to come in verbal, there are going to be around 13 to 14 questions of the same, right? So precisely speaking about, you could say, GMAT itself, and precisely speaking about sentence correction, today's topic is going to be pronouns, right, Parminder?
Yes. And if you want, you can go through our last webinars. We have done modifiers, we have done subject verb. So we are trying to cover each topic for you, on fortnight basis.
Yes. So as you can see the screen, and like today's topic is going to be 5 must-known pronoun rules for sentence correction. So, or basically, like you could say, even out of those 5 rules, we have the 2 most important rules for you guys to understand. The rest are, you could say, a repetition of subject verb agreement, those itself, right? Yeah.
So I'll start with some basics. So as you guys may know, if you've gone through, and we would like to hear from you, if you can write in the chat whether you have any previous experience with, GMAT. Are you preparing yourself? Are you looking forward to prepare? And when are you planning to take your test? And if any of you have actually taken the test, that will give us a, better idea that where you stand, and then we can help you, further accordingly. So sentence correction, as the name implies, is basically correcting the sentence. And when it comes to correction, the very first thing is correcting the grammar. And as your questions go harder, you have to correct probably, correct the meaning changes also, okay? They're based on grammar, but the moment the question gets advanced, it's the grammar may not be as explicit to you as the meaning would be, okay? So when we are on sentence correction, we are being tested on grammar usage, we are tested on sentence style, we are tested on idiom usage, okay? So grammar and idiom, you can say, are similar things. The style is basically, which formation will suit the best.
Yeah, basically whether it has to be a shorter sentence, a longer sentence, right? And like there are certain usages, and there are certain, you could say, certain styles which are GMAT specific, right? And I think that we'll be discussing that much more in detail when we have a discussion only on the different styles of, you could say, the answer choices which are preferred. But however, as far as today's topic is concerned, it's going to be pronouns.
And style varies also. For example, as you said, concision may apply in one question, but may not apply in the other 12 questions you may see.
Right.
But you should know there exists something like, concision. There exists something like eliminating redundancy. So that's one of all, styles we basically, learn for GMAT. Yes. And there are various topics you have to basically go through when you basically look at a correct sentence correction question. So you should, these are the common topics, we learn when we are preparing for GMAT: subject verb agreement, tenses, pronouns, modifiers, comparisons, parallel constructions, idioms. We've covered subject verb, tenses, and modifiers. Today is the time for pronouns, okay? So let's start with the topic. So first thing we should know is that a pronoun is something that replaces a noun. Okay, it's something that will come at the place of a noun. So since pronoun replaces a noun, it should have an antecedent, right, Srishti? It should have something. So there's a simple example given here.
Yeah. So thing here is that, guys, take antecedent as a terminology to be like a fancier name for a noun, So if I say this thing that, like, what is pronoun? Pronoun is he, she, it, they, them. They take the place of the noun, right? But like on the screen, you can see that what is antecedent? It is the noun that the pronoun replaces in the sentence. So if you look at the example, this is a pen. Please take it from me. Please take what from me? The pen. So it is the pronoun representing what? Representing the pen. That happens to be the noun or the fancier word, which is antecedent. Right, Parminder?
Yeah, and this doesn't mean that your sentence can't start with a pronoun, okay? So my students come and say that, can my sentence start with a she? Can my sentence start with an it? Your sentences can start with it. There are pronouns which can replace a subject noun. For example, Parminder is talking to Srishti. So I will say she is talking to her. I won't say she is talking to she.
Yes.
So she is a subject and her is an object. Okay. So
Yes.
she is a subject pronoun. So there are subject pronouns, there are object pronouns, and there are possessive pronouns. Okay. So you should be aware of the subject pronouns. Whereas each pronoun will have a antecedent. But if the sentence is starting in a generic way, for example, it's a suggestive sentence. It says one should not take pride in ABC, right? So that's
Right.
a generic sentence. Your sentence, one is a pronoun. It's a category which is always singular. Each, everyone, everybody. So that those pronoun is a very small topic. There are multiple things to learn in a pronoun, also. There are complex concepts too. So the very first rule is that a pronoun, if you notice a pronoun in between a sentence, check for its antecedent, that is what it is referring to. Check for the noun it is referring to. The first lesson.
Yes. But basically, to understand, you could say, the pronoun rules further, there is this, you could say, a simple rule or a note, I would say, that we wanted to bring in further, because it's easier for you to understand the errors related to the, you could say, pronoun errors itself. So now we know what collective nouns are, right? Collective nouns are basically a word that synchronizes altogether a group, right? So like team is a group of players. I can say army is a group of soldiers, class is a group of students, right? But all collective nouns, they take singular verbs, right? So I won't say the team are having lunch. No, I'll say the team is having lunch, right? But when I say the team members are having lunch, then the members are having lunch. Team, the word team is primarily just describing that the members belong to the team, correct? Right? Again, so here in that very sentence, the team members are having lunch, even though the word team is a noun, but it is behaving like what? An adjective, right? So guys, you remember when our school, we used to have our houses and stuff, right? So red house team members, right? The blue house team members, right? So there, red was basically describing the house, or it was describing, like, it was an adjective being used to qualify that particular noun, right? So even if you look at the second example, the leather bag, the leather for the bag is here. So there the subject is leather, the leather is here, right? I'm talking about the material. But if you look at the last sentence, I'm saying the leather bag is here. What is here? The bag is here, right? Right now, here in the last sentence, the word leather is acting as an adjective, right? Right, Parminder, go ahead.
So just like a subject and verb, the pronoun and verb should also match.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The pronoun should not just match with the noun. The pronoun should also match with any verb that is associating with that pronoun. So there is a subject pronoun, as Srishti said in the starting, that when you're doing a pronoun basically question, or you notice a pronoun, you have to, it's something is being duplicated here, a rule, so subject and verb like thing goes on here also. So you have to match your pronouns with your verbs if your pronouns are acting as subjects. And
so now we'll start with the rule 1 itself, right? And the first rule itself is for the underlined pronoun. Let's be very clear here. So for the underlined pronoun, the rule is that the antecedent must exist. That is, the noun should always be there. So the first task is always to find the antecedent of the underlined pronoun in the sentence. So whenever in a sentence correction question, if I find that there's going to be what? A pronoun, the first task what I'm going to do is that search for its noun. Right, Parminder?
Yeah.
Right.
For example, in this question, if you read the sentence, okay, it says the park managers discussed measures to prevent severe wildfires, which would be devastating to it.
Right.
So in a day-to-day language, it may sound perfect to you. That it is referring to park. In fact, Srishti, our students come and say, what is wrong in it? I understand it is park.
Yeah.
So I'll say your answer, which you have to finally find out, is like a legal document. It's not a poetic expression that everybody comes up with different, conclusion.
I think that's a very apt way to put it, to be honest.
Anybody reads it, it has one meaning. It's like a legal document. Anybody who reads it, it's one meaning for each one of us. no different meaning. Anybody comes and who doesn't have that deep understanding of a language should not say that I think this, it refers to something else, or, ABC. So it should be very, precision is what is required. So
Right.
the correction of this would be as it is written here. There is a correction. Yeah. It should be actually replaced with park, that the park manager discuss measures to prevent the severe wildfires, which would be devastating to the park. Okay,
See,
so that is
exactly. Just to reiterate what Parminder said, now in this very sentence, guys, if you see the park managers, the sentence, the park managers, here the word park is acting as an adjective. It's not a noun.
Not a noun. So don't
Right?
assume that probably it is
The managers discussed. Exactly. So even though we see that there is a park there in the sentence, but it is not the antecedent. So now you can see that how confusing or how intrinsic sentence correction gets based on pronouns itself. So now what we have to do to correct it, we have to replace it with the antecedent or with the park itself. So if you scroll up, so you will see this thing that the correct thing, sorry, scroll down. Yeah. So here for the question itself, there are two ways we can correct it, right? Either what we can do is that the best way is the first one, that is replacing it with the park. Yeah. Or sometimes in sentence correction, there are times when we get both the sentences, like entire sentence underlined, right? I think, Parminder, that is the most difficult ones when students do not understand that the entire sentence is underlined, what to do, right? So now in this particular part, the second correction, what they've done is that they've introduced the noun park, right? And then if I look at it being underlined, so it, the antecedent or the noun is there. The managers of the park discussed measures to prevent severe wildfires, which would be devastating to it, right?
And GMAT loves this, giving you park managers discussed it, the managers of park. So placing your phrases here and there, making sometime it a prepositional phrase and making it a, verb participle modifier. GMAT loves giving you, changes like that, and it's confusing.
Right.
So we have to always match our pronoun with whatever it's referring to. That helps you in two ways. One, you erase any confusion that may arise because of no antecedent. Another, if you know what is the antecedent, you match it with it. Okay, then basically the singular goes with singular, plural goes with plural. I think that's one of the rule also.
Yeah.
So let's do one more example. So it says,
go ahead, Parminder. Yeah.
It says the doctor's diagnosis was incorrect, although he had done all the due diligence. So this is correct. This is incorrect because again the similar thing. So this will sound again perfect to you because you will say that doctor is there, na? Right? So you'll say doctor is there. Why I'm referring to, he is referring to doctor. And this is a very simple sentence. In this, you may find it, very direct and straightforward. In a complex sentence, that pronoun can genuinely create, big confusions. In such a sentence, probably GMAT will also say it's okay. Here, probably it's referring to doctor. But the GMAT sentences, they're long and very convoluted.
Absolutely.
So there it can be actually, confusing. So
right.
It's better to say that,
Because the diagnosis was incorrect. Doctor wasn't. There's a difference in that sentence. Just look at the sentence, guys. The doctor's diagnosis was incorrect. So when we are talking about the possessives, so if I say Srishti's car is parked outside, the car is parked outside. I'm here giving the webinar, right? Okay. So the thing here is to understand what the sentence's main subject is, right? So if I'm saying the doctor's diagnosis was incorrect, although he had done all the due diligence, so he is referring to the doctor, but still the sentence is incorrect. Why? Because the antecedent is not there. The noun that he is going to represent isn't there in the sentence, right? So now look at the correct sentences. Go ahead, Parminder. Yeah.
And I think another thing, Srishti, is that in schools we are taught, or in the education system, we are taught that we should replace the pronoun with pronoun. So we take it very blindly. Yeah. Every time we think that there should be a pronoun ahead, there shouldn't be a noun,
Yeah.
And the noun comes, we feel it is redundancy. I hear this from my students that isn't it redundant to repeat the noun?
So absolutely.
At times it is not. I mean, generally it is redundant. I can't, keep on repeating Srishti did this, Srishti. It will sound like, I'm chanting God's name. Okay, so it should be repeat. I mean, the repetition should bring precision. Okay, you add on something only when it brings precision. Similarly, I hear this a lot, and I think I make this comment in every webinar, that my students, asking me that can we change the meaning? Can we change the words? Can we add on anything? You can do anything which adds clarity to your, sentence. Okay, GMAT doesn't say that stick to whatever is being, given or whatever is being underlined.
Agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Don't just say that I can't do it, because GMAT has given it to me. Then you need not correct it. Okay, why is GMAT asking you to correct it?
Right.
Okay. Right. So there are 2 corrections given here. The doctor's diagnosis was correct, although the doctor had done all the due diligence. The diagnosis by the doctor was correct, although he had done, similar corrections as we have done earlier. So yes. Basically bring the, noun if required, and pronoun will come if there is a noun with which it matches. Okay. It matches in number, yes. It matches in, meaning clarity.
Yes.
Now the rule 2, okay, which actually connects with what we have just said.
Yeah.
So it's a trail, you can say, you learn one thing, it connects with the, other thing.
Yes.
So the meaning should be unambiguous, as we were just, talking. It should be crystal clear. Okay. If a pronoun is there in the sentence, it must indicate only to one noun.
Yes. So this is something which is very simple. Like I have taken a very tedious question here, right? We've taken a very, like you could say, a lengthier question how GMAT gives, right? But just to understand this rule, guys, if a pronoun is there in the sentence, it must indicate only towards one noun, right? So that confusion, that ambiguity shouldn't be there. So if I say this thing that Parminder and Srishti are here, she will leave. So now she who? She is either addressing me or she is either addressing Parminder. So that is the confusion that basically is there, right? If I say again that Ram and Raj were walking, he slipped. Who slipped? How do you know? Right? So primarily that it should indicate towards only one noun. Please remember this thing, right? So go ahead, Parminder. Yeah.
So we'll read the example given by you. I really like it. It says the breakup of the Soviet Union has left nuclear weapons in the hands of unstable countries. It is imperative to world security that they be destroyed. So right. What is this they referring to now?
Right. Now, if again, the same thing that will be there, Parminder, if anybody is reading this thing, they'll be like, obviously, we'll be destroying what? We'll be destroying the weapons. We won't be destroying the countries. However, to a phonetic, it may even sound like what? That it could refer to countries. And guys, this is a Manhattan question. So when I'm telling you this thing, that the questions that we are taking in the class or we are taking everywhere, that those questions, they are actually been tested when it comes to, your actual GMAT. So now this particular question, the breakup of Soviet Union has left nuclear weapons in the hands of unstable countries. It is imperative to the world security that they be destroyed. It's obvious meaning clarity that we have to destroy the weapons.
And another thing, Srishti, I think to non-native, it may be, for example, we speak English. We are not that, it's not like probably some other South Asian, country where English is not as popular as it is here. So to us, it is clear. But like a, universal sentence, it may create problems to, people. So don't just assume that you speak it like this, so it has to be correct.
Exactly. Yeah. So now the sentence is incorrect. So again, what we did to correct it, we basically used the first strategy itself, guys, to replace the pronoun with the correct noun. That is the best way to go about sentence correction when it comes to pronouns. That's the first thing that should come to your mind. If a pronoun is underlined, first thing I have to check is for what? Its antecedent or its noun in the sentence. Second thing I should check for the sentence is that whether that particular thing is indicating towards only that one entity. If it is indicating towards only one entity, good to go. That's our answer. Just in case it is not indicating towards that one entity, make sure that you go ahead and see which one is it indicating for in terms of meaning clarity, right?
So rule 1, match your noun with a pronoun with a noun. Check for the noun it is referring.
Right.
And your pronoun should refer to one noun very clearly. Okay. Right. It goes like a link.
Right.
So here comes the third rule. I'll just show you the third one first. Okay. Yeah. So we know, okay, that singular goes with singular, plural with plural. So the same applies for, your pronouns also. If your subject is singular, okay, you take singular. I mean, depending on your, you go for singular and plural depending on what pronoun you're using. Okay.
Yes.
And a singular pronoun will take a singular verb and a singular set of pronouns ahead.
Right.
Specifically for pronouns like each, everyone, one. Okay, for example, we say that each of the, people, each of the, students is doing his or her work. It shouldn't be their
his or her work. Yes, yes.
It goes like that. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is what we are going, deeper into the various types of pronouns. So first you understand what are the subject, object pronouns. Then you understand the list of singular pronouns, and then come the relative pronouns also. Okay. They
Absolutely
come under the category of pronouns and they connect with modifiers.
Right.
So that's a connection there.
Yeah. So that's what I tell my students, Parminder, like the grammar, once we are done with the topics, they are like, we basically studied this in our modifiers. Now it's a repetition here. So like grammar is very interconnected. Like you can always connect and you can always match the thread somewhere, right? So when it comes to rule 3 is the first thing that we studied, or the first thing that we studied in subject verb agreement, and we know it very well that if I say that Ria is here, she is here, I will not say they are here, right? But if I say Ria and Raj are studying, they are studying. Why? Because now it is plural, right?
2 of them.
Yeah.
And another is that very small things. So it and its is for singular. So my students and it is for non-living things. We understand this thing from school time. But then when, for plural non-living things, we use they or them or their.
Yeah.
They want to use it.
Yeah.
Because they say they are non-living, and why are we using they and them and their? Because we use that for, people, humans. And so there is no plural of it, unfortunately in English. So you have to use they. So they, them, their are used for humans and non-living and animals all alike.
Yeah. Okay. So the thing here is that these particular justifications, I think, Parminder, when we are dealing it in the class itself, right, with specific questions, guys, that's when we clarify it even in more, you could say, further detail. Like in this particular webinar, we'll be discussing all the pronouns and making you just understand that entire thing. But when you come to our classes, you get a very, you could say, in-depth knowledge regarding 700, 800 level questions, where it's not just this, it's about questions like where to use one of that, where to use one of which, right? And all of these things to be basically done in the questions itself, right?
And as I'm bringing, we are bringing instances, these are from classes. Okay, such things actually come when you start studying, and start interacting.
Yeah.
So 2 nouns joined by and become plural, just like your, subject. So if it is, it's like he and she, it's like Parminder and Srishti and I. Okay, so it is plural. Jatin and Ankit are studying. So the example which actually Srishti gave, they will, leave. So this they is referring to Jatin and Ankit.
So guys, if you see these rule number 3 and rule number 4, they are so much easier to understand. If you have understood the first 2 rules, we'll be revising it also, just like, before ending, we'll just revise rule number 1 and 2 before we come on to the questions, right? But the only thing that you have to remember is that first thing, that if a pronoun is there in the sentence, make sure that the noun or the fancier word antecedent is there in the sentence, the one that it is indicating to, right? And the second thing that you have to remember is that it should be absolutely unambiguous. It should be clear. It should be referring to only one noun, right? Yeah.
Now the last rule.
Yes. Now this is a tedious one, right? Yeah.
So this is, so we were talking about and joining, 2 pronouns, or and joining any nouns. So and is the only conjunction which can actually make anything plural, in language. If it is as well as, it is along with, it doesn't become plural. Yeah. Okay, but what if they're being joined by or not, So when your subject, let's take nouns also here. Okay, we're talking about pronouns though, but let's take nouns also. So when your subjects are, when your pronouns are, when your nouns are, I should not say subjects, I simply nouns and your pronouns are joined by or not. So your verb agrees with the
subject. The subject that's absolutely closer to it.
Right. So neither the director nor the actor. Actually, the point is, if you understand yourself also, in neither nor it is basically none. In either or it is one. In or it is one out of the list. Okay. So there would be a confusion. Everybody will choose the subject according to his, wish. So therefore, you can say grammar scientists came together and decided that when it's a combination of or, nor, either, all this thing, the subject technically will be considered for the verb. The subject will be the last, noun. Okay. So neither the doctor nor the actor did. So Srishti has used a verb did here. So what if I change it into do or does? I mean, that will probably clarify why we are saying, his or her not there.
Yeah.
Because we go with subject verb also, na Srishti, that I mean,
absolutely,
that's
absolutely.
Singular, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what GMAT will do. It will give you something which can't actually give you a clue.
I think that even, I think Parminder, this is a very important topic when it comes to even do and does. There are so many students that they get confused between like do and does. It's a very simple thing, but students do get confused in it, right? So does is the singular verb and do is the plural verb, guys, right? So it's very easy to remember. She does the work, right? They do the work, right? So understand this thing now. All right, go ahead, Parminder. Yeah.
No. I just wanted to add on one thing. I'll add on that. You complete that. You were saying.
Yeah. So now let's suppose that if I am looking at the sentence and I say neither the director nor the actor did their job nicely, right? So now if here the rule basically is that the pronoun will depend upon the subject that's absolutely close to it, right? So is the case with the verb, that the verb will also depend upon the subject that's absolutely close to it. So since actor is singular, we need to use what? Does. And since actor is singular, the pronoun will also be singular, right?
Yeah. So I was trying to make a point that if you see is, am, has, was, does, these are singular. You can probably separate in your register that these are singular verbs, these are plural verbs. You locate singular verbs, you should go for, singular pronoun.
Yeah.
So GMAT does this. What Srishti you have done here, adding a did here. Okay. But so that way you don't have a clue. The only thing is you should know that actor will go with his or her.
Yes.
Okay. So, and again, the sentence sounds perfect.
Yes.
So probably, a normal person, it will sound perfect. He or she will say what is wrong in it. It has to be there. We are talking about director or you say none. None did, his or her job nicely. So
so it sounds a little alien to the, you could say, like, the usual speakers, right? And they always like that, like, I don't know why, but it doesn't sound correct. So that is the reason why GMAT as a test, like, that's the reason why we keep on telling you to keep revising your idioms list, because we as non-native speakers, we tend to use idioms in an incorrect way. Right? Because to us, refer to the book and refer from the book sounds fine, right? But the correct version is refer to the book, right? Refer from the book is nothing. It's incorrect usage, right? Go ahead. Yeah.
And that is why we make our students maintain, error logs.
Yes.
Because you can't pick up the books at the last moment. Now you can't pick up 3 books and revise. It's not science or history exam where you can pick up the book and revise again. I think the best would be you revise your notes, the mistake you have made. The mistake you haven't made, that means you naturally know what should be correct or incorrect, right? So something you don't know, for example, something like this should go into your error log. Okay, you must have made an error log for your idioms, for everything and anything that sounds wrong to you but is correct, the way it is given with the sample there. Okay.
Right.
So now we'll move to the questions. Okay. So one basic thing about question is that your question is either partially underlined or completely underlined. Since we are looking at pronouns primarily, the questions we are going to do today, they will be primarily, be tested on, pronouns. But I mean, it's not a, grade 5, grade 10 question. You may have 1 or 2 answer choices going out on the basis of pronouns. The other may, be based on verbs. The other may be based on comparisons. So one sentence correction question can test on 2 to 3 rules. Okay.
So Parminder, I think before starting with the question, let's just quickly revise the 2 things that are there with pronouns, right? So the first thing that is there is, guys, that when we look at the underlined pronoun, right, the first thing is always that we ask for what? It's noun. That's one thing. That is that the antecedent must be there, right? And the second thing that we have to remember is that it should be basically, you could say, unambiguous. It should be absolutely, you could say, specifying to that very noun. And the third thing is that if the subject is singular, the pronoun will also be singular. If the subject is plural, the pronoun will also be plural. It will not be the other way around, right? See, okay? So now let's start with the question. Let's look at the first question. I think we should solve the first question. And then for the second question, give our audiences the time to solve it, right? Yeah.
And I see you have, the moment you know the concept now, you see the underlined portion, you should see the pronoun.
Yes.
You know the verbs, you see the verbs, right? Are. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when you read, you have this in mind what this day is referring to. Okay. So it says the bank acknowledged that day. So what is this day referring to? Bank. And bank is a collective noun, as Srishti explained, like army, group. So
yeah, so if I say the bank is open, it is open, right? We don't say they, or banks are open, they are open. Yeah, yeah.
So any sentence that's actually giving you they are because the bank is non-underlined will be out. So we can eliminate answer choice A, we can eliminate answer choice B. So knowing
Yes.
this rule has helped you, in eliminating two answer choices in what time? 10 seconds. Okay,
Right.
so that's what, grammar rules do. They make the job, not just easier, you can do it, quicker also. So they are and will continue to experience difficulty as it attempts. Now it becomes it. Okay, so you see that switch. To deal
Yes.
with precipitous fall of the dollar against the yen and dislocations reflected in the stock market decline.
Yes.
So we have now it. Okay, and one says it is, and it's. So we should know the
Yes.
difference between these three also.
Yes. So now the thing here is that, guys, you guys remember this thing that when we were discussing, you could say our questions related to like our previous webinars, we said that shorter the better, right? So if I look at it is experiencing and will continue to experience difficulties as they make an attempt. Now, this is something which is very lengthy, right? And it is something which is very much, you could say out of like, why will I say experiencing and then continue to experience? Why will I repeat it, right? So straightforward, my suggestion would be whenever you see such lengthy sentences compared with the rest of the four answer choices, eliminate it. Plus at the same time, like we have like they make, that error is already there, that they make an attempt, right? Whereas we could have like, just like A and B, we eliminated that as well. Now, there is another rule that is applicable here when it comes to C and E, because both of these are like questions of a higher difficulty level. There might be a possibility that you guys get stuck between C and E. Why? Because both of them, they sound correct, right? But the rule here is that whenever we are looking at a sentences, you could say transition, it is always from past. So like if I'm looking at past sentence, the bank acknowledged, that's a past tense, right? It will convert into a conditional in the sense that the bank acknowledged that it should be would. Whereas when it comes to from present, the sentence transitions into the future, right? That the bank acknowledges that it will. But since if you look at the question, acknowledged is in the past tense. So automatically, because of C, that's where it gets eliminated. So these are the answer choices, or these are the questions that basically we'll be like, we'll be studying in depth. Right, Parminder?
Yeah, and another thing, Srishti, isn't it redundant to say that it is it is and will continue to? I mean, isn't this, there is a redundancy of tense? We can say it will continue to, or we can say it is
absolutely
going to, experience. I mean, both will give the same probably, meaning.
Right.
Both will give the same, probably result. That
right.
I mean, it's going to happen in the future. It's not going to, end. So therefore, answer should be
right. E. And now again, the same thing I would want to repeat, shorter the better. Yeah, so many of my students, so like there are times that my students who are not at all grammar Nazis, they are always like that, no. For me, first trick is that I just do what shorter the better. So I'm like, don't go with it directly, but well, we can't.
It's not an all. There are no always in GMAT, okay?
Yes,
so
there's no
what's
always
presented to you. So there is, I mean, anything with anybody who says, for example, on forums, all the answer choices with being are wrong. You can't take it like that. You have to understand why being is wrong, why having is wrong. Okay, what effect it makes on a sentence. and then you eliminate. So that is how you go to a higher score. If you know the concept, you know you have the conceptual clarity, you know the application, not just you know the 10 tricks. Okay,
Right.
it's not probably a bank SSC sort of an exam where these tricks may apply. So the bank holds $3 billion in loans that are seriously delinquent or in such trouble that they do not expect. So again, there is a pronoun. Okay. The moment you see a pronoun, you should check what it is referring to. Okay. So they do not expect payments when due. Okay. So what is this? Who does not, or who, do not expect payment? So this they is referring to the bank here again. Okay. So any answer choice which is repeating the they will be out. So this day is out. Okay. So in the previous one, I want to show in the previous one, we eliminated, answer choice D because it had a they here, and we knew that it's referring to, the bank. So will we do the same thing here when it comes in to C and it repeats, they? I would suggest we not, because in that we knew, we had read and we knew that the they was referring to, the banks there. But in this case, it says it does not expect payments to be made when they are due. So this can refer to actually payments. Okay, so we will not eliminate this day because this day is not referring to bank. Okay, now we so 3 of the answer choices are starting with it does not expect, and it's referring to bank, whereas the remaining 2 are starting with payments. It says payments are not expected to be paid. Okay, now payments are not expected to be paid or paid. I think this is what actually is what idiomatic usage is. We will never say the payments are expected to be paid. Okay, it should not be payments are not expected. Payment is made, payment is not paid. Okay, so this goes out on the basis of idiom usage. Okay, so D and E can be eliminated because the wordings, the payments paid is not actually the idiomatic expression. Okay, so we are left with now B and C, and B says it does not expect the payments when it is due. So in these cases, in this and in answer choice B and C, they is referring to payments, and in B it is referring to payments. So obviously payments is plural, so it should be they. So therefore we'll choose C over B. Okay. So they are, they are offering, they're proposing quite convoluted, answer choices at the last. You can eliminate obviously A. Between B and C, again, you can eliminate B probably because it is referring to payments. You should hold on to C. In hurry, don't try to, eliminate C because thinking that they're starting with payment, so that's making it clear. It's clearly, referring to payment. Don't go for that trap, and then hold on to, the answer choice C and try to read, D and E and find out that what sort of, meaning changes are being proposed there. Okay, so there is one student who's asking that that he or she did not understand the idiomatic expression point. See, payments are not expected to be paid. So payment is already, payment is paid. Now pay becomes a, noun which becomes payment. So payments are, you will make a payment. You will not pay a payment. Okay, that's the expression. Will you say pay a payment? You will pay money. You will not pay the payment. Payment is actually a noun version of pay. So therefore, payment are to be paid is wrong. I hope you understood that. Hi, Srishti.
Right, there was some error in the, here at my place. I'm so sorry about it. Right.
Perfectly fine. So we have done this question. Yes. And there was one question from student that I actually said that payment to be paid is unidiomatic. The point we make in the first slide, that because payment is a noun version of pay.
Right.
You make payments, right? You don't pay payments, you pay money.
Right.
Okay, so one of the students said, I don't understand this idiomatic expression point. So probably you would like to add on anything on idiomatic expressions here?
So I think that when we are dealing with idiomatic expressions, there's an entire list that we tend to give you, right? And that list depends upon, let's suppose if you are giving your exam in a month's time.
I think not that. Otherwise, the idiomatic is, for example, you don't pay payments, you make payments, you pay money. something like that. Idiom, I mean, that is what the student
Right.
is asking. Yeah.
Okay. So now when we are looking at, so,
basically a fancier word for wrong English, I think, right?
Yeah. Primarily that. Yes,
yeah.
yes. Again,
You were saying something
related to some electricity. Yeah. So sorry, guys. Yeah.
So I'll move on to next question.
All right. Yeah. So again, if I just like read out the question once, right? So reading the question itself, we see that the black hole has entered the popular imagination as an object so massive that neither light nor matter can escape its gravitational pull. Yeah.
Whose gravitational pull? The hole's gravitational pull.
Absolutely. So now, guys, when we look at too massive, or when we are looking at so massive, the scenario here is that the two, we use it for something that I would like, yes, I'm purchasing apples, oranges. Okay, I would like that too. So something that we are saying that, yes, I want this along with that particular thing, right, Parminder? Yeah. Normally what we do is that when we are saying this is too beautiful, that's an incorrect usage, right? Either you say it's very beautiful, or you say it is like it's so beautiful. That is what the intensifiers do. But when we are looking at TOO, the word, that is basically used for what? That word is basically used for like that I want that particular thing also along with the things that I'm purchasing or the things that I already have, right?
And it ends there. It's too big. It's too expensive. Yes. If you want to say it's too expensive, that it's wrong. Yeah. That's idiom. Okay. It's so expensive that you can't buy it. It's so massive that none can, escape it. So if you want to make that a relationship, it has to be so that, not to that. Okay. So these two answer choices can be eliminated.
Right.
And another is massive enough that. So enough that is, I feel, that expression, I mean, again, wrong, because we are not saying that it's so enough that something can't happen. And in fact, enough that is no idiom. It's just if you use it, that I mean, it's a wrong, idiom. I mean, nowhere.
Plus, at the same time, I think that enough that plus at the same time, I think there's a pronoun error also. Cannot escape there. Black hole is singular, right? Yeah. So automatically, I think that we can straight away eliminate that with itself.
If this is an exam situation, then you can simply eliminate A and D. So we are down to the answer actually. So Srishti has ended the discussion. Okay. So answer is A. Okay. So that's actually, if it is an exam situation, you wouldn't go into all these discussions. But when you are doing a review, when you're seeing how you have done, you should see several things. Okay. So enough that is a wrong idiom, and there is wrong, and we know to that, to for is again wrong. So massive that neither light nor matter can escape its gravitational. Whose? Black hole. Okay.
Yes.
Let's go to the last question now. After that, we'll take your questions. So be ready with whatever you have in your mind.
Yeah. The mistakes children make in learning to speak tell linguists more about learning language than the correct forms they use. Right.
So more about to learn about language, or how children learn language.
Yes, more about what? More about learning language, how, right?
Concision should never, eat away your meaning. Okay, don't. That's one point.
All right. So now Sanjoli is saying that it should be B actually. All right. So now instead of they in A answer choice, what they did in B was basically replace it with another pronoun. One is what? One is again a pronoun only, na? Somebody, someone, this one, right?
And what is it coming for?
Yes. So guys, look here. The mistakes children make in learning to speak tell linguists. So there is one noun that we have is children. The other plural noun that we have is linguists. Right? So now, Parminder, if you can circle linguists as well. And the pronoun that is underlined is what? They. Right? So one pronoun should be indicating towards only one noun, right? So can you see that here there's this ambiguity which is there, that the mistakes children make in learning to speak tell linguists more about who learn language. What is they indicating towards? Now, if here I say more about how children learn language or more about how linguists learn language, both of them here is like, if I see, it's making sense, right? But we have to choose only one. So what will be the answer? Yeah, so yes, C sounds correct. Correct, Sanjoli. I'm glad that you got it, right? And the ones who are already saying that, you know, that C would be the answer, kudos. It's a very, like you could say, a tedious question to go ahead with, right? But I hope you guys are getting it, right?
I think what students don't like about answer choice C is this do here.
Yeah.
So that's a point of comparison. But if you can replace this do with tell, I think it will, you know, probably will sound better, you know, will appear better, that it tells linguists more about how children learn language than tell the correct forms the children use. Okay, I mean, I replaced another they also with children so that you understand. So comparison has to be a parallel. Okay, comparison, the evaluation that happens, the structure should also be parallel. So that actually we need to do there. That's though a point of comparison. But I mean, as I said, you know, as we said that comparisons are also, I mean, multiple topics are tested in one question. Okay, so you should know everything, you know, quite well.
Yes.
Okay, guys.
Yes. So now, right, Parminder, let's move to the last slide because I really want to talk about this thing. So guys, the thing here is that we've come up with the coupon code. All of you can come up and take our classes. We have live demos as it is happening, right? So I want you guys to basically go ahead to the leveragelive.com and understand that there are like not just courses for the entire GMAT, there are specific courses as well. Like there are students who are very good with quant, but they do not know, like, you know, verbal. So maybe you just need you could say intrinsic understanding about verbal itself, right? So we have our coupon code and it's there on the screen, and you will be like, you know, it's valid till 31st July, and you can avail like what 20% discount on the packages. So this is something that we've come up with, and I would really want you guys to go explore the website. Plus at the same time, I again say that Leverage Edu's main website, we have a lot of content when it comes to admissions. We have different webinars on Leverage TV that basically you could say are very, very informative in context to the next steps that you will be taking, in context to either it is your academic tests, or it is your admissions, or it is your like, you know, SOP building, or you want to learn about scholarships for that matter, depending upon the country that you're targeting, whether it is Netherlands, whether it is Canada, whether it's US, right? So my suggestion would be to look at the coupon code. It's 5WCG9, right? And we are giving you 20% discount for all the packages. Book your demos. You've already met Parminder, who's already here with us. She explains each and every topic so deeply. So you get an idea about how to go about the this thing, like the courses and all courses. If you look at the screen, you can see that all courses are there. Then you have specific courses for GRE, IELTS, TOEFL, SAT, PT. We have everything here. But when it comes to GMAT, we have all of our, like, you know, all the, you can say, our faculties there. And yes, use this code, avail the offer. And if you have any doubts, let's open it for like another 2-3 minutes, you know, for the question and this thing. Anyone? Any further question that you have?
Any questions related to test preparation, material, applications, countries? So we can help you.
Anything that you feel that you want to know about the admissions, anything that you think that you want to get a hand over, like whether you're applying for UK, you have questions, whether, you know, the job prospects are good or not, or in this very field, I have this much of work experience, what all things will I have to go ahead with, how to build a good SOP, everything for that matter, just log on to Leverage Edu. We'll basically guide you not just for your applications, but for the next steps for the next 5 years. It's not just the 2-year degree or a 1-year degree that you're going ahead and pursuing, guys. It's the entire what after those 2 years, the ROI, everything. We'll have a full detailed discussion regarding the same, right? So, right. So I think that any questions, anything, guys? how important are LOR for a 3-year experience? Okay, Vagisha, very important. For anyone who happens to have a 3 years experience, we need professional LORs, possibly with your manager or possibly the one that you were reporting to. It could be the previous company's LORs as well, like, a recommender from the previous company that has or who has worked very closely with you, right? Or it could be the current companies, the current firm that you're working with, right? And in that very firm, like, you are reporting to your manager, that will be the best thing. Or if you can get someone higher in rank and that person can recommend you, right? That entire thing, right? Yeah. Right. So we'll just wrap it up. So guys, log on to Leverage Edu website, log on to Leverage Live website, and possibly if you have any doubts, anything you have, like, we'll reach out to you, whether it is like related to test prep. We have demos going on, right, Parminder? You could just share a little bit about the demos itself.
Feel free to attend the demos because those are more specific. Rather than going on one topic, they can discuss other topics also, and you can discuss your problems, your whatever your problem you're facing, and whatever you want, you can ask specific questions. So those are more customized, rather than general. So
yes,
you can go to the website and book for a demo yourself.
Right. At the same time, guys, I would like to say this thing, that just in case you found these webinars really helpful, or you want to go back, Leverage TV has all the recordings. It's there on YouTube as well, right? And when you log on to our website and Leverage Edu, you will see Leverage TV, and then you'll see a full list of webinars that we've been conducting, and all of them are super informative. So log on and get your process started, right? And it was lovely having you guys here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Thanks.
Bye-bye.